Well, I am a civil engineer, and I actually started working on Prairie Trail back in 2006. My role was to work on the civil engineering and look at the master planning, the infrastructure, both the storm and sanitary and water. First of all, look at some of the traffic components. One of my jobs was to look at the ways that stormwater would be managed as the development would proceed. The stormwater gets managed a variety of ways within Prairie Trail. The commercial and some of the higher density areas, there'll be practices that are actually on the site so that the water goes downstream cleaner. It also slows it down. I mean, you're slowly filtering the water and it's slowly entering the stream, much more similar to what would have happened in the natural landscape of the prairie, where when it rained, most of the water went through the landscape, went through the soil, and slowly percolated out as groundwater rather than just rushing off of a paved surface that we see in a lot of typical conditions today. So that kind of is the site level, and then it goes on through the systems to where we have regional practices like the lakes that are near the district, and also we've got a variety of constructed wetlands that do a lot of that kind of regional management of stormwater as well. We've got porous paver systems that are like, some of those are in the districts like the parking lot at Jethro's and behind the Simpson College area that actually allow the water to be collected off the parking lots and filtered down through stone and slowly cooled and treated before it runs off eventually into the lake. One of the things with the porous pavers that are a little different, between the joints they're not filled up with sand the same way that a lot of other pavers are. The joints are left open, there might be some small rock that's placed in there. That allows the water to filter through those little gaps in the pavement and then go down into the rock below so that it can kind of slowly be treated. It can slowly go downstream rather than just running off the surface of the pavement. One of the challenges we had with designing the lakes was to design something that would allow the big storms to get out, but we also wanted to, in the smaller storms, hold some of that water back so that the water wouldn't just rush out uncontrolled. So we came up with the idea of this staged outlet, so that way as the water level in the pond rises, it has more and more weir length for it to flow over, so it can manage those little small storms. But then when we have really big storms, basically the outlet just gets bigger and bigger because as the water rises, it spills over more and more panels. So that was kind of, it basically started to get form from the function. And actually that structure won a couple of awards back in 2008 from the DOT and also I think it was the Iowa Ready Mix Concrete Association. So one of the things a fish like is some things that they would normally swim around in a natural pond. Well, to create that artificially can be kind of difficult, but we came up with this idea of putting pencils in a cup. Basically, it was the arrangement of that. They took sections of pipe, they cut them in half, and then they filled them with little hardwood cuttings, branches and things like that, and then they filled the bottom with concrete so that those wouldn't float to the surface, and we called it pencils in a cup because that's what it actually kind of looked like. You can't see that those things are there, the things like the pencils in the cup, but those things make it easier for fish to breed and to thrive and to find places to be. One of the benefits of the natural prairies is they really have very deep root structures. Some of them will go 10, 20 feet into the ground, and they keep the soil nice and loose, so when it rains, the water can run through it like a sponge instead of being heavily compacted that happens in a lot of the urban environments, and even in turf grass. Turf grass only has roots that are a couple inches deep, so it really never penetrates very far into the soil. So another advantage is they're very resistant to erosion. So because the roots go so deep, it's very difficult to pull them out of the ground. If water comes running through, it's hard for them just to get scoured away. And they're very beautiful too. As they mature and they grow and we have greater variety, you see lots of different wildflowers. They provide habitat for bees and butterflies and dragonflies and a lot of things that pollinate other flowers that are very, very important. So they have an important place in the landscape.